If you ever had to move data in the Power Platform, you will eventually use Dataflows. However, even though the graphical experience may help you with most of the heavy lifting, Dataflows have enough quirks and differences from other tools. This alone can make your first experience more challenging than you'd expect. Hi, I'm Bruno and welcome to the Power Minutes. Today we've got 3 best practices to share regarding Dataflows, which should ensure that you have an easier time with Dataflows on your first experiences. The first one is quite straightforward. We should have a solution just for your project's Dataflows and data sync related efforts. As you can see over here, I have this project with shapes and colors, but I decided to create another solution for my data. And you can see it over here, the data flows. We have 2 data flows and a Power Automate flow. More on that later on. And if you check, the rest of the project has, well, let's say the project itself. Now, why is that? You may ask. Well, for starters, even though data flows can be added to solutions, they can access certain core features such as connection references and environment variables. In practice, this often translates into post-deployment actions. For example, if you push a solution from development to quality, you need to make sure you're pointing to the quality's data sources and tables. This becomes extremely bothersome if you're actively working on a solution and promoting it to quality or even production, because each deployment will most likely break your data flows and you need to perform some post-deployment actions. So imagine doing that for every single change you make on your app and you're not even working on your data flows. So keep it stress-free by having a solution dedicated exclusively to your data and data-related efforts. This is also best done on a per project logic. Our second tip is a bit more of a warning. As of making this video, there's a visual bug on Dataflow's new interface. If you go over here on our destinations pane, so let's click next and go on our destinations pane. When we are configuring the actions under the import method, let me just wait a bit and there it goes. So under import method, we originally set it to merge, but you see that right now it's pointing to append. Again, this is a visual bug. While it seems that you've made a mistake, you've actually selected merge, and after publishing it, it defaulted to append. If you want to confirm if you made a mistake or not, the best way of course of action is to see your history in your data flows and check a run where there are update instances expected. So our shapes show refresh history. Let's go for this one, and you can see that I created 1 row and 3 rows were updated. Updated, often linked with merge, means that if you merge logic, if you update, it means that you updated, and that is a highlight to see if you're using a merge or append. If you're actively creating rows, well, either you add only new data or the data was processed as if it were new data. If you have updated rows, that means that data got merged. Hopefully, this bug will cease to exist in the near future. Next, let's move to our third topic, orchestrating multiple data flows in sync. As you may see, I have colors and shapes over here. In our project, each shape has a color, meaning that in order to create a shape, we must have a color database up to date. This means that colors need to be imported before shapes, and only then shapes can be properly filled in without having the issue that we may be missing a color or two. So how do we do that? Well, you might think, this shapes, let's see colors. If I go here on your history, as of today, it took about a minute, so we can give it, we can schedule them for 1 or 5 minutes afterwards each other, but that's not a guarantee. As your data expands, you need more time for processing, plus this is an online tool. Resources are not always available as expected. There is lack of consistency with this method. It may work, it may not work. That's not good development. That leaves you with room for mistakes. So, how can you cover all of those bases in this case? Well, merging both data flows into one might not always be an option. You can measure the consequences of that. Sometimes you really need that data in separate instances. So if you can't merge the data flows and you don't want to eyeball how much time you need between synchronization between tables, what can you do? Well, I told you we'll come back here. We can use Power Automate. So let's load our Power Automate and discuss what we can do with it. There are a total of 2 topics that would be quite valuable. One is there is a trigger that will tell you when a specific data flow finishes its synchronization, or rather they call it a refresh, and then we also can invoke a refresh to another data flow. So if you have experience with Power Automate, you can already see how this is going. Your trigger will be when a data flow refresh completes, and in this case I want colors to be our trigger. So when colors finally finishes synchronizing, we will invoke shapes to start its own refresh. While we're here, we've got a bonus tip for you. If you want to ensure ALM is present in these flows and on this package, make sure that you check the code view. In there, you'll see that we have both the group ID for one refresh and group flow data flow ID over here. You can use these in your environment variables to dynamically reference in these fields. So you can enter a custom value there and put your environment variable. Now, for a first deployment, you might want to just deploy it and grab those values and do another deployment. And on that second deployment, you fill in the environment variables with the correct settings that you got from here. Or if you're feeling that you're an expert, you can go through your default solution and change them on the fly without a necessary second deployment. So with these few tips, we hope that you are more comfortable in developing with data flows, which will of course be a great complement to your Power Platform projects and your Power Platform knowledge. See you next time.